and nibbling. I do encourage you to continue to snack and nibble. But we're going to go ahead and get our program started this afternoon. How you doing? Good? All right. Wonderful. For those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Dr. Tamika Hobbs, and I am the regional manager for this institution, the African American Research Library and Cultural Center. And I am so happy for this occasion today. We are continuing a series that we have here called Cultural Conversations, where we bring to our community some of the most innovative and creative and groundbreaking thinkers, writers, filmmakers, you name it, and give you an opportunity to hear from them directly, whether you're in the room or watching on Facebook or YouTube. It has been tremendous to just watch the talent that we have to participate in this series. Just want to highlight you should put these on your calendar and do what you can to get here. A few weeks ago, we had the privilege of hosting Dr. Etta Fields Black to talk about her book, Combahee, on the Combahee River Raid by Harriet Tubman. And I don't know how many of you have been watching the news, but she actually won the Pulitzer Prize this past week. Yes, round of applause for that. So we have award-winning authors who come through. Today is really special for us. I've been in this position about 2.5 years, and one of the first programs that I was able to attend in this role was the public unveiling of a photographic collection that had been gifted to us. This was a massive collection of some 1,300 images that had been collected from all across this country that represented a century of Black life from roughly 1850 through the 1950s. And all of this work had been done by our featured speaker today. Her name is Miss Jacqui Thornell. She is a native of Miami, also was raised in New Jersey. She spent, as a part of her professional career, time at the Miami Herald as the head of human resources. But I'm so excited to have her talk to us today about this fantastic gift that she's given our institution. And I have to say, it's probably one of the most significant groups of collections that we've taken in the 22 years that we have been here. And it would not have been possible without her vision and her commitment and her generosity. And so you'll get to hear from her today as she talks about her journey as a collector. And she's also going to talk to us about legacy. And we had this conversation earlier in our gallery. We had a tour with the curators of our exhibition on the Harlem Renaissance. And one of the questions came, they loved what they saw, but there was a lot of concern, given everything that you're hearing today, about how we're going to preserve and protect the things that are being stripped away, taken away. And I'm here to tell you that AARLCC is standing strong here in Broward County. And what you see is a part of our work of collecting. I like to tell people that history is not everything that has happened. History is everything that you keep. And we have to be the keepers and the preservers. And so without further ado, please join me in welcoming Miss Jacqui Love-Thornell.
Well, it's obvious that the original speaker couldn't make it because she talked about innovative, famous, or whatever. Not me, but I am so delighted to be here anyway. And so thankful that more people than my husband came. So I, being a former teacher, I had to put it in writing. So I have a presentation that I'm going to walk through and talk through with you today. Starting with the photographs, the collection. And one would say, I call myself the accidental collector. I didn't start out with the intention to create a collection of photographs. I joined Ancestor.com And I start putting in all the data of my family and calling everybody. And what did so-and-so have a middle name? Put that in there. Try to build this family tree. Then I put out a call to all my cousins, aunts, uncles, send photographs. I need to see what these people look like. I need to upload the photograph into Ancestry.com. Nobody had photographs. Not one person sent me a photograph. I was like, I'll pay for you to mail them to me. Not one cousin, aunt, uncle, nobody sent me a photograph. And so I thought, oh, we're in trouble with our family tree. People won't even know what we looked like. I knew we had Gullah Geechee roots. Send me some information about Gullah Geechee. Nobody had any of that. And this went on, me sending emails and really becoming a pest to my relatives. But honestly, I thought maybe they weren't tech savvy. Okay, I'll send you pre-addressed stamped envelopes. Nothing. And I realized more and more that we just didn't have any. So I started Googling. When I would come up with a name, I would Google an ancestral name. And a lot of times another picture would show up. And it wasn't our ancestor, but it was a beautiful picture. And I was like, that's nice. I think I'll put that aside. I might find out later that I'm related to him or her. And the more, cookies or whatever it is that they put in your computer, the more I went Googling for photographs, the more photographs I got. Then I met a woman online, and she said, look, I sell photographs from estate sales. And a lot of people die, and nobody even knows who these people are. Would you be interested in some of these photographs? And I said, well, send me what you have. And she sent me some. And, that's interesting interaction. I like the lady with the hat and the man with the cane and and I would describe which of the photographs I liked. She would say, well, that's about $15. I would send her the $15. She would send me the photographs, and we got to be really good friends. And more, I got connected with these people who I didn't know, but they were Black people, and somebody had figured out a way to photograph them. In most cases, they were beautiful people. I'm like, I really never saw a bad photo. It might have been blurry or foxing or some other things. The other thing is, I began to learn the difference between the photographs. What's a cabinet card? What's a stereo view? What's a tintype? What's a daguerreotype? And in picking up those terms and concepts, I was able to have even better conversations with the lady I was buying estate sale photos from. And she then introduced me to other people. She'd say, oh, there's this big estate sale in Georgia next weekend. Contact this person. Then somebody would send me to eBay. Then I went to a couple of these estate sales in California where we live. And I just got hooked. I got hooked on the beauty of Black people being photographed, because I realized in my family, we had neither the resources, money, access to have photographs. And I appreciated that there were Black people who did have that access and those resources. The other thing that I learned was, the more I looked at these photographs and started really collecting them, and you'll see this in a minute, I realized that my view of what Black people did, could do, had done, just burst open. And you will see that in some of the photographs that I will share with you. But before we get into that, what do you do with a photograph collection that you look up one day and you say, I don't know, I can't keep putting this into a Word document, try to put a description of what the photograph is, where I got it, how much I paid for it. It was starting to be a lot of work. But more importantly, I knew that the photographs needed care. They needed to be taken care of. And I didn't have the archival means to do that. So I started writing the Smithsonian. Oh, we're 5 years behind in our donation, in even classifying our donations. The one that I always tried to, the museum I always tried to get, but I can't think of, named after the Hispanic Schomburg. I wrote everybody. I have this wonderful collection. Would you like to have it? And in most cases, I never even got a response. So we packed them up along with my husband's unhappiness, and because they also took up a lot of room. And we packed them up when we purged our place in California and moved to Miami. And we brought them here on the premise that I would find a home for them within our first year of living in Miami. And lucky for me that we were in touch with the African American Research Library and Cultural Center. And at that time, Afua, I don't remember her last name, thank you, was the archivist. And there was another woman too. They both went on to other opportunities, but I got to meet Tamika, and we were able to find a home here for that collection. So let's jump into the photos because they're fun, and I think you just visually will enjoy them. But just know that I was the accidental collector. And I probably wouldn't wish that on anybody even though I learned a lot, I enjoyed it. I made some boo-boos along the way. I met a lot of good people, invested a lot. But I think there's a better way. We'll talk about that. So let's have some fun with the photos. And I hope you're near a TV screen so that you can see this. The tech people have done a great job of setting this up, but I'm just going to walk through the sets of photos. And let me pull up my notes. In this there are 5 photos in the first batch, and they came from I'll get my notes, that would help too. They came from a scrapbook, one of those scrapbooks where nobody's named. It doesn't even say where they're from. We think, because my husband grew up in Detroit, that they're from Detroit. If you see Idlewild Clubhouse, it was a private club for Black people, like a resort that Black people in Detroit went to on the weekends and had a good time. Sort of like in New York, up in the Hamptons or places like that, yes. So you see in this group of people 4 friends, you see people outside the clubhouse. And this was also because of segregation too. They couldn't go to other places, so they made their own. A woman with a tennis racket, 2 people who look like they're just about to fall back into the water, which is pure joy, and then a couple in the boat. And all we know nothing about these photographs that were in this scrapbook. I took them out of the scrapbook because the scrapbook pages were falling apart. I don't even have a year or circa here. The second is a group photograph. I don't have the photographer or the studio. And I have seen this photograph elsewhere as a stock photo, and I believe it was part of a singing group. It's not Tuskegee, but it was part of a chorus or chorale. The third one is a wedding party. If you know anything about photography, you might guess who the photographer is for this photograph, a man who was very famous. James Vanderzee, yes. And you may have heard of James Vanderzee as probably the most well-known Black photographer of his time. I don't know who that would be today, but at least of his time. The fourth photo here is, oh, and I was going to say, can you imagine a wedding party? That is a wedding party. I never counted the number of people in it, but I've never been to a wedding with a party that humongous. And when I first saw a photo like that, I went, Black people? It was just a wonderful feeling to know that Black people could live like that, did live like that, probably still do live like that. But I had never seen them. And that was a big aha for me. The fourth photograph here is what you call a stereo view. Stereo views were mass produced and sold, and they often were stereotypical portraits. This one actually happens to be Booker T. Washington at Tuskegee Institute. And the stereograph or stereo view, you can see him surrounded by people who probably were investors, or he was trying to get them to invest, or he was selling Tuskegee Institute to a group of people. And I always think that's impressive to see that somebody actually captured that as a photograph. The fifth photograph is called, it's from a school that my husband's family is connected to, St. Augustine School. It is the graduating class of 1907. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, and a couple of those could be professors. So I don't know how many are in the actual class, but it is from Burlington, Vermont. And it says Miss Marge Mayo. And I don't even know which one of those ladies is Miss Marge Mayo. Number 6 is a group of students in front of a bus, a trolley bus, with a sign that says Charlton Pollard High School Special Car to Grant Street, only for colored. And it was the class of 1929. So maybe a school trip or a class trip. Everybody looks like they're all dressed up too. Number 7 is the Yvonne School of Beauty Culture, 1941. So this looks like a graduation photograph, and all of those ladies are ready to go out and do hair. And we know how important that was. I don't have it here, but I'm pretty sure it was New York. I don't have it written here, but I think it was New York. And I can't read the handwriting on there. On number 8, when I first saw it, looked like a celebrity and some students, but it could be that, but it's actually the finalists from an oratorical contest. And I don't know about you, but I came up in the era at Liberty City Elementary School, where oratory was a big thing. I had to get up on stage and recite poems that I had memorized. Curfew shall not ring tonight, to Oh Captain, my Captain, to a lot of Paul Laurence Dunbar, which my husband is about to close his ears now because I go around saying some of those poems at home, and he's like, again. But we learned Black poets, white poets, classical. We learned it all. And our teachers were determined to make us succeed in every part of the world we might find ourselves in. Okay, so number 9 is Howard University dentistry class. I don't have a year, but we assume it's DC. And in 10, this probably may look familiar from your own family archives. These are members of the Persian Temple number 46. So they were of some organization. Like my father was a Mason. I don't know if your parents might have been involved in these kinds of organizations. Number 11. Now, I can't tell you how much joy it brought me when I acquired this photograph. I didn't know Black people dressed in 3-piece suits and let their dog sit on the sofa with them and get a photographer to come and capture the picture. I just didn't know. But when I saw it, my dog didn't even come inside. Okay, he had to eat outside, sleep outside, everything. But when I saw this picture, it just made me feel good to know somewhere in time that photograph was captured. Number 12 is the 705 Troop D 9th Cavalry on the trunk of the fallen monarch Marapisa Grove, which I've been to, California. And this is like a group of buffalo soldiers. In the stereograph, they double the photographs. I'm not sure why they did that. It probably had something to do with how they captured the picture or whatever. It was a double photograph. So that's why it looks like that. Oh, sorry. Number 13 also warmed my heart. Again, you cannot see it that well, but there in the bottom picture, there's a man standing above the others. This is Marcus Garvey, and he was participating in a parade down the street of all Marcus Garvey followers. Many of them were nurses and other tradespeople, and when they had these parades, all the nurses marched together, all the Masons marched together, and then at the end, he would give a speech, probably about going back to Africa. Okay. Again, number 14 is like the man with the dog. This man is seated, very well dressed, with a book in his hand, and he has written on the frame, the paper frame of the photograph, saying, "My compliments to you, Merry Christmas." And I'm like, yes. It just made me feel good that was happening at some point in time. Number 15 is, Number 15 is a group of 3 men dressed in uniform. Again, I have no information. It's a tintype, so it's metal. It's a small metal tintype. And I'm so glad that it's being cared for now. Number 16, does anybody recognize number 16? Yes, Mary McLeod Bethune at her home in Daytona Beach, circa 1940. Again, I don't have any information about the photographer. Number 17 is another tintype, small metal. And it is amazing to me that even though these tintypes are so old that you can see the detail in people's faces of the flower, the detail of the flowers in her hat. Number 18. Now, what do you think this is? Any guesses? That's what I kind of thought to myself. I don't even know if they were having debutantes back then. I don't have a year. It just says Mount Pleasant, Sadie Mercy. So Sadie Mercy is probably one of those ladies. 11 ladies, all photographed together. What could it be? I don't know. Is it one of those Sadie Hawkins Day things? Did they just get inducted into AKA? Or I have no idea. But it's fascinating to me that they got all dressed up for a reason, for some event, and that it was captured on film. And I'm happy for that. I wish I could show you number 19 itself, and maybe you can even find it when you do the tour. Oh, maybe you can even find it. These, I'm assuming now, because there's no detail, a mother, a daughter, and a newborn child. But if you could look close at the photograph, the lace, the handmade lace in these, especially the young child, is just fascinating. It's just beautiful. And somebody took the time to capture that. 20A and B this is sort of like a before and after. If you look at the photograph on the left side, this young lady was a young girl. And someone came back at later years and captured her as a young woman. Same lady. And we do have the photographer studio information there. But the fact that we were able to find two that were of the same person, amazing. In 21, these two young girls look like they're maybe Caribbean or have some Caribbean roots. I don't know that for sure. It just could be their dress is beautiful. But it begs for a story. And we've talked so many times, Tamika and I, about how so many of these photographs without information really do beg for stories to be told about them, whether they're fictional or true. You know, people want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. 22 and 23 are the precursors to the dandies. These are little boys who have been dressed to the T. The one little boy in a suit with even a cane, and the other little boy, if you could see the actual photograph, that's velvet or velveteen that he's dressed in, and lace. And if you see his high shoes, you know, someone really spent a lot of time getting him ready. 24 is an interesting photograph, and we have several of these in the collection. There was a campaign at one time to capture, and it was an anti-slavery campaign, to capture little girls and boys who could pass for white. And they gave them names, whether that was their real name or not. And they used these cabinet cards at anti-slavery events. I think the thinking was, if white people could see little babies, little kids looking so white, they would work harder against slavery. That's the only, in all my reading, that's the only thing I've been able to put together. And they would then pass the hat and raise money. or anti-slavery activities and events and efforts. And we have a number of those cards. I have even seen text somewhere where they talked about the very thing. Look at these children. If you didn't know better, you would know they were white. How can they live in slavery? Yes, it's misaligned thinking, but it was reality. Number 25 is 6 men posed with instruments, and it actually has a couple of names, and there is no photographer identified, but it's Clarence and Norman Askew, Arthur Askew, Jake Sansone, and Robert and Walter Askew. So they were maybe related, but they were all part of a performing group. Okay. Now, number 26, I cheated. It's an interloper photograph. That is my grandfather. Now, remember when I told you at the beginning, I called every cousin and nobody had a picture. My father died, and you know how family does. They were going through his chest of drawers, and people were grabbing for stuff to take, keepsake stuff. And somebody found this photograph, and they said, "Who is this? We don't know who this is." And somebody said, "He kind of looks white. What? He's light skinned. Oh, ask Jacqui, because I was the lightest brown in the family. Go ask Jacqui." And they brought the picture to me. I said, "That's my granddaddy." And I only knew that because when I was in 6th grade, my grandfather came to live with us in Miami, and he must have been sick. And the deal was, my parents said, "You have to make sure he takes his medicine because he doesn't like that. And Grandpa, you have to make sure she does her homework." And I found out my grandfather was cheating on taking the medicine. He put it under his tongue. He'd go to the bathroom and he'd spit it out and flush it down the toilet. And when I found that out, I said, "Oh, no, you broke the deal. You broke the deal. I don't have to do my homework anymore." He said, "What are you talking about, Jacqui?" I said, "You're not taking your medicine." And we had a deal. And he said, "Okay, I'll take my medicine as long as you do your homework." And I lived with my grandfather for a year before he went to live with an aunt because she had more room. Because in that year, I had to sleep between my parents so he could have my bed. And they wanted him to be more comfortable. But that's the only way I knew that was my grandfather. So again, I make the point about, and Tamika said it too, about preserving history. Okay. And I'm getting down to the end now, so I'll move a little faster. 27, we put the photographs into certain categories like families, children, men, women, and one of the categories is celebrities. We don't have that many, but these two are definitely in there. The number 27 is Hattie McDaniel. Any of you remember her? Hattie McDaniel, actress. She volunteered during the war by stamps or something that they were trying to get people to buy to raise money for the war. And this is the group, but she lived in Hollywood, right? This is the group of women who were her volunteers. Okay. And so, again, we don't know the photographer or the date. Number 28, do you recognize anybody in there? Who? No, it's a woman. No, not Josephine Baker. She's standing. Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday is right to the right of the man. She's in a Miriam, Kansas school, 1945. She was probably just out giving signatures or something. And the last batch. Now, I need your help here. What do you think 29 is capturing? The what? Oh, freeing slaves. That's a thought. That one guy is holding a gun. The guy on the left is holding a gun. Anybody? Any other ideas? What do you think? 29. That's true. It does look, or that they posed. Um, I have no clue. But isn't it fascinating that those men would be sitting and standing among what are probably slaves with the little girls between their legs, like they know them? I don't know, but it sure probably was an interesting story. Number 30 is a group of men, and I'm speculating Masons, and it looks like they're having like a ribbon cutting. And hopefully it was a building that they were, um, having the opening for. Again, to see black men standing there, that many black men in suits, and they're celebrating what looks like their achievement, was to a little girl who grew up at in Liberty City Elementary, went to Liberty City Elementary School. That was a big thing. Now, I'm sure you've seen the Met Gala photographs with the dandyism, which has been the theme of this year's Met Gala, which was wonderful. And these are some dandies of our own. Two guys, and we all knew men like this. They just dressed to the T and so enjoyed doing it, you know. And both photographs, I think, capture black men who just enjoyed looking good and dressing up. And the last one is just a cabinet a card of a girl. Again, her parents had the resources to bring in a photographer, or take her to a studio, because they had a lot of backdrop things that you can stand. I want to stand in front of the wallpaper. I want to stand in front of the urban scene or the high buildings or whatever. They had a lot of those backdrops. And she's holding, I don't even know if the flower is real or not, but it's just a beautifully constructed photograph, for one thing. And so, I love it. Now, last few. 34, I'll go backwards. It is a Creole family. Mother, father, 9 children. And they had big families back in the day, because they also had to usually help out on the farm or picking cotton or something. But it's just a beautiful picture. 35, I still don't know about these two guys. Now, either they were real cowboys, or that guy, the photographer, had some wonderful costumes. We don't know. I sure would like to know, but we don't know. And the 33 is fascinating. When I first saw this photo, and you may have even seen this photo as a stock photo around, because it's gotten around, I had to do some research because it was just coming up too much. I don't even know that we have this this information in the collection. Her name supposedly was Silica Lazevsky. And I thought when I saw her, she was, black people rode horses and they had those kind of outfits. I'll be doggone. Unfortunately, the story is not that happy, though. She lived in a place called Belle Epoque, Paris. And it was sort of almost like, I hate to say this, a zoo where they collected people and they dressed them up in certain ways, and you could pay to go through and see these people. And she obviously played that role of equestrian very well. They called it a human zoo. And she's a horsewoman without a horse. And it was taken in 1891. So it was her job to dress up like that. And I don't even know how much she got for it. So, did you like the photographs? There is something about them that I think from a human nature just calls to us. We want to know more. You know, we won't want more details. I'm sorry I don't have so many details to offer you. But they're beautiful in and of themselves. Just the beauty of people, the beauty of Black people, the beauty of people in a time captured by someone. And that's why I started collecting them, as I said, accidentally. But I'm a little smarter now. Not so accidental. It also happens when you get older, too. They have become a legacy that I feel good about having done and invested in. That I hope one day my grandchildren will say, yeah, Nana wasn't so smart, but she was smart enough to collect those photographs, you know, and capture them for anybody to see. And that's what a legacy is. It's leaving behind something that made a difference to other people. You leave your imprint. You leave a sense of who you are, how your life was, what was important to you. And you preserve it for the future. And as Tamika said, in a world like today, we don't know what's going to get thrown out, deleted. We have to be even more intentional about what we do and how we do it. So I'm asking you to be intentional about a legacy. Leave a legacy behind of some kind. First, you got to get in touch with your passion. What is your passion? What gets you excited? Then, how can you leave something behind? I have two friends here, and they're going to love this. I looked around my house today to say, what could I bring that would be not photographs, but something else that's a legacy? And I only found two things. This is one of them. The church where my husband was serving for a while is very Caribbean oriented. And those people can cook. And that food is good. And I didn't know how to cook most of it. So I got this idea, let's have a cookbook. Because if they give me their recipes, I can make them. They still don't taste like what many of the people who make them taste like, but they're still good. Okay. And we used this, a committee at the church created this cookbook where people submitted their recipes. And we printed it. It made it about $3,000 for the church. But more importantly, when the ladies start saying, I need 3 of those because I have 3 grandchildren. I said, but the grandchildren can just come to your house to eat. They said, they don't know nothing about Caribbean eating. All they know is McDonald's and chicken. I can't even remember the other name, but they said they don't know Caribbean food. They don't know how to cook it even. I'm giving this to them so they will have my recipes and they can cook my brown stew chicken. They can cook my curry goat. And that's how many of the sales went to the grandchildren and the children. And so all of these ladies created a legacy. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to find out, what is it that gets you excited? What do you want to leave behind as a memory? Be intentional about it. I was going to say, I'm inviting you. And then I changed that to, no, I'm challenging you. And I crossed that out and changed it to, I dare you. And put my hand on my hip too. I dare you to leave something behind. It might fit in a library or a research and cultural center. It might be something you keep in a box and just leave it there for the people behind to find. It could be, this is my other legacy, a denim jacket that I'm working hard to fill up with patches that represents me, unapologetically Black, busy making my ancestors proud. It could be anything. If you sew, leave something behind that you made. If you collect t-shirts, leave the best t-shirt collection you can. Just figure out what it is and leave it behind. Leave it for your grandchildren and your children. Leave it for everyone. So we will all have a better idea of what was important to you and of you being here. Thank you. Okay, I'll go.
Another round of applause, please, for Jacqui Love-Thornell. So at this point, she's going to take the stage, and she will be joined in conversation by none other than Erin Purdy. Erin, yes, round of applause for Erin. Erin is the senior archivist here for Broward County Libraries, and we have 3 collections, one that exists here for AARLCC in our building and 2 that are downtown. But it's Erin's responsibility to actually care for the Love-Thornell Photographic Collection. So the 2 of them will be in conversation, and then they'll take some questions from the audience before we end. Okay, Erin.
Okay. Hey. So I just want to start off by saying that a lot of we have many collections. Oh my goodness.
Sorry. That's okay. There you go. Those weak wrists. I'm sorry. I usually have my sidekick who opens the bottle.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah. Oh no, it's fine. Yeah. So we have many collections in the AARLCC Special Collections. Right now we have about 70 processed. So that means that they've been fully described, they've been preserved, they've been digitized, they're online, they're fully accessible to the public and to researchers. And many of those collections come from collectors like yourself. And so I just want to say that we wouldn't be able to have amazing collections that really encompass the scope, the breadth of Black history and culture without collectors like you, without your work and your passion. So I just want to personally say thank you very much. Yeah, okay. So I'll start off with a softball question. Do you have a favorite type of photograph, like a favorite format of photograph? I love daguerreotypes.
I love daguerreotypes too, and we have, yes. I love daguerreotypes too. We have a few in the collection that are in gold filigree frames, and they close, they open. and the picture is in there, and it's just, it excites me the same way going into a jewelry store and seeing a beautiful diamond ring. It just has such a quality to it that I thought whoever did that really cared about that person to make all of that effort.
I feel the same way about the photographs that are like hand tinted or like that have like the gold embellishments and
Yes,
stuff like that. Like it's amazing that people took the time and energy to do that. Let's see. So I was wondering, like, did your career like influence your collecting or your philosophy around your collection?
Possibly, but I think it was more my artistic interests over the years. I've raised by a Southern mother, a Southern Black mother. I had to crochet, knit, sew. I even did needlepoint, and she felt like you're supposed to know how to do all those things. But somewhere along the way, I kind of became what I call artsy fartsy. I like doing craft things, and I like making cards. And I'm always, as my husband thinks, I always got a little corner of stuff that I'm working on, earrings with African fabric, that kind of thing. So I think that has had more of an influence on me than one could say human resources. Yes, I love people, and most of these have people in them, but I think it's more about my art side. So.
Okay. When I know when you were saying when you moved down here, you intended to find a permanent home for your collection. Like, at what point did you decide that you wanted to make the collection available to the public for like education and
Yes.
inspiration?
Well, there was that point. We had Valerie Cooper, who I had not met before, but she's an art evaluator, and she came to do an evaluation of the collection. And she said, "Girl, you could make a lot of money on this collection if you want to go that way." And there was someone in the county who was willing to do a full evaluation because, and I didn't know that person because he worked for the county in accounting, and he said, "Oh, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars here." And there was a minute when I said, nice college fund for the grandkids. And there was possibility to sell them to, I can't think of some of the photo stock companies. You probably know. Yes, Getty. And I went and looked at those too on the line. And that's what Valerie said. You could sell this to Getty. You could even sell it to the Smithsonian. But then I thought, I'm just a little girl from Liberty City, and to be able to give this to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale, to the Broward County Library, that just hit home. It just felt so right. Like I was supposed to do all of those things I did so I could end up back here and make that donation. So I'm sorry I'm getting emotional about it. But it was a really good feeling. And the fact that it has access to anybody and you don't have to pay to use a photograph. It's just wonderful because all the copyright laws, years have passed. It's available for use. And I love that. I love the idea of that. But yeah, there was that moment. Huh?
I don't know, just so I think it might be interesting for you all to know, but she actually donated the collection to us in November 2021, and we finished the process of like preserving and describing every single photograph in September of 2022, and then over the next couple months, the collection was all digitized and uploaded. So right now, it's on the Broward County Library Digital Archive. But if you ever want to, we're going to do a tour after the talk in the special collections. And so you'll get a chance to see the photographs firsthand. You can flip through the pages. And I also pulled out some other materials from other collections that I thought you would be interested in seeing. But yeah, so if you ever want to come and see the physical photographs in person, all you have to do is call us, make an appointment. They're available to everybody.
Mm-hmm. And I love that they were digitized. That was a wonderful blessing. And there was a link I had on one of the slides. Now I realize you probably couldn't access that anyway, but there is that link that you can click on and go right to the collection. So,
yeah. Well, I have a couple more questions, but I don't want to monopolize her. Does anybody else have a question they want to ask? He's going to bring you a microphone.
oh, he's bringing your mic.
Thank you. Hi. So my question is, I'm friends with a fashion historian, and I'm asking if you ever thought to like either partner with the fashion historian to date and to cite like, different eras in time. I know we talked about like the dandy era and whatnot, but I know textiles, materials, the type of three-piece suit, the type of tie, shoe, even Kane can cite a date and period, and even a location. So if you guys ever thought about partnering with the fashion historian to further look into the photos, because fashion is a testament of time as well.
Yes, and Tamika has so many great ideas. We've brainstormed some of them, and she's like actually taking action on some of them. So I think the collection has so many wonderful possibilities. She's gonna work with teachers at some point to create lesson plans around some of the photographs. Can you imagine some of the stories these kids will come up with if they had to write a story about a picture? To the issue about fashion, wouldn't that have been great to have a photo presentation going the whole night of the Met Gala, just showing how long dandies have been around, But that's a partnership that you can have, that the fashion industry or your organization can build with the African American Research Library. There's so many possibilities. There's a whole category on schools, those little one-house schools where all the kids are out front with the teacher. There's some beautiful photographs of those that you could build a whole project around. So we just invite you to come, partner with African American Research Library and figure out something that will bring those photographs even more to the public. So.
Did you have a question?
Oh,
Okay. I do have one.
she has.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So my question was about, can you hear me? My question was about the pictures. So if I understood, you said you found them at estate sales, some of the pictures at estate sales. So estate sales, you mentioned earlier, the photographs, and when I was, how do you post them online to find out if it's someone that you don't recognize, like we recognize Mayor McLeod, but other people, do you post them online to find out who it may be, or how do you find out with some of the pictures who may maybe in the photographs?
can you repeat that? Unfortunately, you're right wear that pole right behind that pole so I can neither see you nor hear you well.
She said, how do you identify in a photograph if you want to find out a particular person in a photograph? How would you research that?
Well, that's hard. It's just hard. I'm sure you're a photographer. You know, if you come across a photo, how do you get to the source of it? I would start if it had a photographer studio name. And there are some famous Black photographers from the past that have their own websites. Either their family has created a website in their name, and they will feature their photographs. Sometimes you, like the young lady with the equestrian outfit. I just kept seeing that photograph over and over in the public arena, and I said, you know, there's a story there that people keep using it. You know, it's a fascinating photograph too, but I think there's a story. And I just kept Googling. I even put the photograph in the Google line, and that's when it came up. It was someone had written a book about equestrians, and she was featured in the book. So they had done the research, and I got to benefit from their research. It is not easy. Do you have thoughts on that? How do you find the source?
Yeah, I think more casually because thank you. I always say what started my journey in photography is looking through my grandma's photo album. And I had the pleasure of, sitting with her and asking her, who is this, who is that? But as I got older, I started understanding the importance of writing on the back of the photo, who this person is. It would be even better whether we could get who the person is or the year and location that it was taken is so invaluable. So I know in my own practice, I haven't done much research into other people's photos outside of my own family's, but even with my friend Heaven here, I was going through her family photos and I told her that her mom has done an excellent job of making sure who everybody is in that picture and how invaluable that is, even though I don't know those people, because it gives them personhood. So yeah, it's really important. And now I'll make a statement. I'm so overjoyed and so thankful to the African American Research Library for hosting this cultural conversation. It's been amazing and awe-inspiring. And thank you to you for probably the best happy accident of the new millennia. And it's definitely I feel charged to, be better at archiving my work and including descriptions, because I don't know what legacy my photos will leave behind for the people that'll come after me. So thank you. Yeah, this has been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. And I would really encourage everybody, go home and pull out that cardboard box or shoe box with those photographs in it and start asking people, who are those people? What are their names? What was their first name? What is their last name? What was their nickname? We have a member of our family. For years, I only knew him as Bubba. Bubba. And everybody loved Bubba. He was a beloved relative. We didn't know his first and last name. So if you can capture that information now, because often it doesn't occur to you to capture it until the people who know that information are gone. And then you have no one to ask. So ask now.
I also just would like to add, a lot of archives and museums actually have policies where they will not accept unidentified photographs. They only accept photographs that do have some level of description. But then to get back to your original question, the Broward County Library Digital Archive is hosted through a platform called Content DM, and Content DM actually has kind of like a plugin where we can make it so that members of the public, when they're viewing the collection online, they can actually enter in information. Like if they know who that person is, there's a form they can fill out to identify the photographs. So it's not implemented yet, but we're working on implementing that. And then hopefully we'll be able to get even more description for the Love-Thornell collection and all our other collections as well.
So if somebody looked at it and said, oh, that's my Aunt Susie, you can fill out a form and give that information to the archivist.
Yeah, there's just like a bar and you just type it in and
That's
hit
great.
submit. So we're really excited to start working on that. Do you?
Yeah, I have the mic.
Okay. you
Just
have
a quick question on the digitizing process. Does the library use a specialized method, or is it just a commercial grade?
So we actually have a full digitization team in-house. There's 3 staff members who full-time, their only job is to scan materials. And we follow the FADGI guidelines, which is the federal, I forget exactly what it is. It's an acronym, but it's like a very specific set of standards for how you scan the images, the DPI, the file format, all that. A lot of the work is just done on flatbed scanners. They're really nice flatbed scanners, but you just hit and click and scan. But we also have we have like 3D scanners, so we can like 3D scan artifacts. We also have like a giant overhead scanner that is like imported from Germany called the Zuschel scanner. So we can scan like full newspapers or materials that are like even much larger than that. Did that answer your question? Okay, cool. I think she has a follow-up, or yeah, Ramona.
Good afternoon. Ms. Jacqui, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to hear your stuff. A couple of things I want to say. It sounds like what you're describing, Erin, was like a crowdsourcing of sorts. And it makes me really think about the importance of community engagement. And like you just suggested that she connect with the fashion person and bring them back to the library. And I want to really emphasize that since Dr. Hobbs has been here, she's always talked about community engagement and outreach. And I think that because we now are intentionally doing that, it's really underscored us being a part of the community. Because sometimes archival institutions, there's a disconnect. Stuff gets taken in and then it's sitting on shelves for years waiting to be processed. So I really want to kind of let the audience know that here at the library, we've made a conscious effort to not let that happen, that stuff doesn't get lost in the sauce once it's, quote, institutionalized. I also want to say that my mother had a saying that said, every frog praises his own pond. Community engagement. I went to hear an opera singer, and at that opera singer at a church, and the person who was delivering the guest message was Reverend Thornell. Reverend Thornell and I met, and he said, my wife has a collection and Washington wouldn't take it. Could you help? So I don't want to sound like I'm putting myself on
I forgot
but
that.
I want to say that was community engagement.
Yes.
So every time we have our stories and our narratives, if we go out, all of us, whether it's Dr. Hawes, myself, Erin, the Thornells, and remember that, the importance of connecting, then it all happens. Because if it wasn't for the synchronicity of he and I meeting, that it may not have happened.
That is true. He came home right from that event and handed me a card and said, call this lady. And I did. And so often things are serendipitous like that. If you, as I do, believe in God, it's not just serendipity, it's the greater good working. So I go back to the idea of legacy. Figure out what your legacy is, and things will happen. As soon as you start acting on it, people will come to you. You will find information on your website you didn't even go looking for. Those dots will start to be connected.
Okay, so we have just a couple minutes for one final question. Do you want to ask your follow-up?
Yes, it's a 30-second. So if you have pictures that you want to share, I said just a 30-second question. So if you have pictures that you want to share, like what's the process really quick? And is there, how some police might put out we would, if you have pictures of Civil War pictures, did you guys put that out there? So so we know that maybe we might have something that you are looking for.
Um,
I'm sorry, I can't. have a little hearing.
I couldn't. Sorry, I couldn't really hear her either. We we're always looking for donations. I don't think we're actively soliciting anything at the moment, but you know, people always turn up with all different types of collections, and working with the donors is always a real pleasure for me, because the people care so much about the materials that they own, that have been passed down to them, the things that they've collected. And it's always just like so fun for me to see their passion. But yeah, we're always having donors pop up in a variety of ways, like through coincidence, or people just find us online and stuff like that. So it's kind of more, right now, it's kind of more of a passive process. But maybe one day when we get more space, then we'll be able to start like actively soliciting like a lot more donations. Yeah.
I had one more question, just one more, and it's actually to you, Aaron. How do you, or what do you think of kind of like the pendulum of preserving history and photo? How now, you know, I'm primarily use a digital camera for my photos, so automatically everything is on an SD card and a hard drive. So what do you think of the pendulum kind of swinging between the importance of printing your photos out and then also digitizing them? Like, do you find value in one, maybe more of the other? Because we know the cloud exists now, but there's still that kind of, you know, the threat of things being deleted or erased. So what do you think of that pendulum swinging, and which practice do you think is maybe, I don't want to say more important, but I guess more resilient?
So I would say physical photographs are definitely more resilient. There is a whole separate field of digital archiving. How do we preserve things for the future so that there isn't what museum professionals call, there's going to be a digital dark age where people look back on our period and there's not a lot of information. So there's a lot of people who are like much smarter than me, much more tech savvy than me, who are working on solving that problem. I would say we have just this last year started collecting digital collections. Specifically, we got a large digital photography collection. I think it's like 30,000 images, and the guy is going to bring us more eventually. And we're lucky because we have the county network server, and they have like backups on backups on backups. So we don't really have to have so much like you know, like at your house, if you want to preserve stuff, you have to have like 3 or 4 hard drives that are all copies of each other and stuff. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of people who are working on it. Yeah, I don't think one's better than the other, but physical photographs, you know, a lot of the photographs in your collection, they go back to the 1850s. They're still beautiful. They're still in good condition. If we keep them in good shape here at the AARLCC Special Collections, some of them might last like 1,000 years. You know, like you'd think like there's like, you know, the ancient papyrus manuscripts from like Egypt and stuff. Like there's just yeah, just from an archival perspective, physical photographs are more stable. Yeah.
I just want to piggyback on that, because I think there are people out there in the audience that are like me. I save graduation programs. I save funeral programs. Part of me saves them because I think, I might need to do this one day. The other part of me is, it's capturing history. It's capturing a moment in time. If you're one of those people, keep doing that. Maybe one day you can bring a big box of all of those programs to capture history in Broward County. You know, because maybe some of those institutions will have gone away, but your program still exists. And so I know I can hear people now going, oh, it's hoarding, it's whatever. No, be selective. Okay, you don't have to save 5 of them. But capture as much of that history as you can. Hold on to it. We may need to prove something one day.
Thank you.
For Aaron Purdy and Jacqui Love-Thornell, this has just been so heartwarming. Great to have you in the building again, Miss Jacqui. Thank you for everything that you have done. Thank you for gifting us and trusting us to carry forward this collection. I also, as we said, Aaron has mentioned, we're going to transition now, and Aaron is going to lead a group upstairs. You'll have a chance to take a look at these binders and boxes of the images that you had a chance to see on the screen today. I do want to invite you all, if you haven't had a chance to have some refreshments, please do help yourself. You cannot take the food or drink upstairs. You're going to have to make a choice. Either you're going to eat or you're going to go upstairs. Can't do both. Beyond that, I do want to take a moment and again, not only thank you for being here today, but to invite you back. We are doing things like this all the time. We are getting ready to go into our third season of Celebrating Freedom, where we take a look at this transnational conversation around independence and liberation between Haiti and the United States. So we're going to be celebrating in this room next week. We'll have a special cultural conversation dealing with Haitian Heritage Month. The night before that, we're not just eggheads here in the building. We throw really good parties, and so next Friday night, the Friends of Arlic are going to kick us off with a Destination Haiti party. There'll be compa, Haitian food. There'll be cocktails if you're 21 and up. That it does have a ticket associated with it. All proceeds benefit us. It's how we're able to continue to run these programs. At the end of the month, we are going to have a special screening of a documentary that's on local WLRN. It's called The Creole Pig, produced by Dudley Alexis. So that'll be here on the 29th. Following the screening, we'll have a talk back with both Dudley and his co-producer, Imani Warren, in conversation with Wilkin Brutus from WLRN. And so that's just a sample of what we have in the lineup. If you see those dark blue flyers, double-sided with the Haitian and American flag, that's a whole lineup for you where you can learn more. But again, if not then, please come back and see us some other time. Thank you so much. I want to just give a shout out as well to our staff, programming. Thank you. You heard a little bit ago from Dr. Ramona LaRoche. She's here on her day off, I think. Loves this place. She's our adult services librarian supervisor. So thanks to all of you for making this happen. Our caterer in the back, my girl, Chef Lee. Thank you for the delicious treats today. But again, thank you so much. And we'll transition. Aaron, we'll follow your lead. Oh, they'll see it on the